Hey everybody, FP here. Phase 5 is just around the corner, and in this video I want to let you all know how you should be preparing for its arrival. First thing I did on PTR was farm this recipe in Syrian Gorge. It dropped rather quickly for me, but a guildie got it in about 30 minutes of killing dwarves in the tunnel down below. It's not a bad idea to be a stealth class for this farm. Recipes BOE. This here is a list of my investments. My priority were the items that my mage will personally use, so even if I made a wrong decision, I would still end up with consumables for myself. I expect fire elixir to be up to 10 gold, and if you hurry you can still buy oils for under 40 silver and fire blooms for under 70 silver. Next up we gotta talk about this recipe that will completely flip the values of hearts and elemental fires. Getting friendly with Thorium Brotherhood is very cheap right now, but as soon as people realize friendly is a requirement, price of these mats will skyrocket. If you have the BRD key, you can get to the vendor solo with 2 different invisibility potions. I screwed up by not having minor speed boots enchant. This is now a new type of transmute. It only has a 10 minutes cooldown, but it triggers 10 minutes cooldown on all other transmutes. As you can see, making a bar puts a 48 hours cooldown on elemental fires transmute, so be warned that if you want to do Arcanite bars or essence transmutes, you may need another alchemist just for these fires. Next, I wanted to test the new Exalted AV Ring. Spell penetration was added later in vanilla cycle to counter high resistances. In PvP it works perfectly, but in PvE it's still inconclusive. Right now in our current phase, bosses simply do not have resistances. You can compare Warlock logs from runs that had Curse of Shadows and speedruns that didn't have Curse of Shadows applied to bosses. Both had similar partial resists RNG, making me conclude that minus 75 spell penetration from COS and COE simply doesn't work in PvE. 10% damage is the main benefit of that debuff. Now let's talk about enchanting. New vendor is located at Cenarian Hall, Silitus, although lower level oils can be purchased from your local trainer. Nature and Fire Res cloaks enchants require reputation with Cenarian Circle. Enchanting oils add very much needed, easy way of leveling enchanting. You can see the level ranges of each oil on Atlas Loot add-on. Last 25 points is easiest with Wizard oil, so perhaps gather some mats in advance while they are cheap. Brilliant Mana and Wizard Oil are hidden behind rep with Zandalari and require Arcanite Rod to craft. You also have to craft oils one at a time. Each oil has 5 charges and you cannot place partial charges on Auction House, which is a good change to how it was back in the days. Disenchanting Epics on PTR yields 1 to 2 Nexus Crystals, while on live it gives 2 to 4 Brilliant Shards. There is also a matter that these PTR characters are copies, and certain portion of players believe that epics have a timestamp on them on live, and all epics will not disenchant into Nexus Crystals in Phase 5, only new drops will. One thing that is not on PTR and you have to know about is the Silitus War Effort campaign. 5 days after this entire list of items is handed in, you can start questing in Silitus, so these items take priority over anything else that you plan to do in Phase 5. Do this first, as it's very limited time event and most servers will complete this list in a day or 2. First time you hand in any of these items you will receive 10 signets. Every repeated quest later will give you the number written on the list. Only leather is handed in stack of 10, everything else is handed in a stack of 20. As for what you do with signets, you have 2 options. One is to hand in 10 signets in exchange for 75 rep with any city. Second is to hand it in for a box that contains a green item quality or higher. As mentioned, this is not on PTR right now, so we cannot test if these boxes can contain epics. Private server footage shows them containing occasional blue item. I will not go too deep into badge farming in Silitus, as it requires its own separate video, but these are the items that are handed in to get logistic badges on Alliance side. I will link this spreadsheet down below. On Horde side, only difference is that you have to make axes instead of swords, and Ironforge Brigade quest is also a bit different. On the left side, I noted down how expensive one badge would be on my server. Badges are used for Rock Fury Bracers and Earthstrike. I will make a separate video on this topic, but for now, this concludes the list of things you should be focusing on for Phase 5. There are other things like grinding for Scarab Lord and the fact that you can actually sell Silated Carpus fragments, but that requires guild to forfeit their chance for Scarab Lord and instead use the fragments to fund their guild bank. For now, see you in the next one.